Good day. Our topic for today is all about Chapter 4, The 8 Is. Let's move to introduction. Organization face complexities in today's world. The challenges you've outlined create a critical imperative for consistent, high-quality execution. More meetings, less communication. Meaning, meetings often become bureaucratic routines rather than focused dialogues with unclear agendas, redundant discussion, or misaligned participants. This leads to confusion about rules, goals, and next steps. Consistent execution ensures that even when communication flows are modeled, teams follow clear processes to deliver on commitments, minimizing gaps between discussions and action in an organization. More data, less insight. Meaning, ibig sabihin po nito, the explosion of data, nakaka-overwhelm po siya ng organization, making it hard to separate meaningful signals from noise. Strong execution ties data analysis to specific actionable outcomes, ensuring that information is translated into decisions and actions that directly benefit operations or customer. Nakakapag-benefit daw dito yung mga customer at yung operation ng isang organization rather than being stored or discussed without purpose. Next is customer demand more. Meaning, ibig sabihin po nito, modern customers expect personalized experience, fast responses, and reliable products or services. Any inconsistent in delivery can damage trust and drive them to competitors. Executing well every time builds reliability ng isang customer meets involving expectation. Ayan, mamimit po natin yung expectation ng isang customer. And turns customer demands into opportunities for loyalty and growth. Meaning, ibig sabihin nito na yung customer demand natin is mag-gain siya, which is opportunity ng ating organization to gain more profit at para makapag-gain tayo ng loyalty at growth ng ating organization. Next, that it is need to execute well every time, which is, kailangan nating i-execute to and every time para nang sa ganon, yung organization natin is makapag-level up siya, makapag-gain siya ng complexity, which is magna-turns po siya sa fragmented resources into results and aligns organization's effort with customer needs. Next is the remedy for complexities. It is designed na yung the 8 is, kailangan nating itackle yung the remedy for complexities by integrating multiple dimensions. And those dimensions are organizes complex quantities and qualitative elements. Meaning, for short, dyan yung data and insights na dapat nating pagtuunan para makapag-gain tayo ng customers for our organization. And also, in this complexity, both qualitative and quantitative information, it can turn into a raw data into a meaningful understanding ng isang customer. Next is examine short-term and long-term dynamics. Meaning, for short, yung time horizon po ng ating organization o uh, ng ating company, which is nababalance po niya yung immediate needs ng ating mga customer, which is yung short-term datas, tapos with yung how about the long-term data is yung goals to avoid reactive decision making. Next one is considers organizational structure and operation. Meaning, it aligns how the organization is set up with how work gets done, ensuring processes support execution. And last one is highlights responsibilities to stakeholders, which is yung internal at external. Meaning to say, it ensures the needs ng both internal groups like employees And also, the external groups like customers and investors are considered and prioritized. Kailangan natin kino-consider lagi yung kailangan ng customers at investors natin and also yung employees natin. Next one is stakeholder responsibility. Meaning to say, in this stakeholder responsibility, it starts with employees, like with more points or cutoff, indicating that addressing stakeholders' needs begins with the people within organization. Since they engage they engage and supported employees are foundational to executing well and meeting customer and other stakeholders' demands. Next is the importance of quality delivering the excellence. Meaning, delivering quality excellence means consistently meeting or exceeding standards, expectations, and needs across all aspects of an organization's work, from product and services to processes and interaction within organization. Next is auditing and management practices that can assess the condition. Ibig sabihin nito, these practices systematically evaluate and ini-evaluate niya yung isang organization's performance, process, and alignments with goals, helping identify, which is makakahelp po siya ng pag-identify ng strength, gaps, and areas for improvement to address complexities like poor communication, limited insights, or inconsistent execution.
Let us begin with effectiveness. For any organization to succeed, it must first have a clear mission and vision. The mission and vision guide the organization and help employees understand what they are trying to accomplish. Without a mission or vision, an organization may move in different directions without a clear purpose. It would be similar to a ship sailing without a destination. Because of this, the mission must be clearly communicated to employees. When employees understand the mission, they become more motivated and aligned with the organization's goals. From this mission, organizations create goals and objectives. These goals and objectives serves as measurable markers of progress. They help management determine whether the organization is moving towards its mission. For example, a company may set goals related to production targets, product quality, customer satisfaction, and cost reduction. These goals allow management to monitor progress and make improvements when necessary. Now, this leads us to the question, how do we know if we are achieving these goals? This is where effectiveness comes in. Effectiveness refers to the degree to which an organization achieves its goals and objectives. One way to measure effectiveness is by comparing planned outputs and actual outputs. For example, if a company planned to produce 10,000 units but only produced 9,000 units, the organization did not fully achieve its goal. Effectiveness can also be expressed in percentage. If the result is 100%, the goal is fully achieved. If it is below 100%, the goal was not completely achieved. If it is above 100%, the organization exceeded the goal. This measurement helps managers and auditors evaluate whether operations are performing as expected. Internal auditors also play an important role in improving effectiveness. They examine whether the company's policies and procedures are appropriate, useful, and relevant. Sometimes organizations continue following policies simply because they already exist, even if they are outdated. Internal auditors help identify these issues and recommend improvements to ensure that policies actually support the organization's goals. Next is efficiency. While effectiveness focuses on achieving goals, efficiency focuses on how well resources are used to achieve those goals. Efficiency refers to the relationship between outputs and inputs. Inputs include resources as labor, materials, time, technology, and money. Outputs are the goods or services produced. An organization is considered efficient when it produces more output using fewer resources. For example, if two factories produce the same number of products, but one uses less labor and materials, that factory is more efficient. Efficiency is important because organizations operate in environments with limited resources and increasing competition. Companies must control costs while still producing high quality goods and services. Managers are responsible for making sure that the organization's resources are used wisely because they are stewards of the owner's invested capital. When efficiency is low, it can lead to several problems, including lower productivity, slower growth, wasted resources, lower profits. Therefore, organizations constantly seek ways to improve efficiency. There are several ways organizations can improve efficiency. First is developing employee skills. Organizations should recruit employees with the right skills and place them in roles where they can perform their best. They should also provide training and support to help employees improve their performance. Second is creating a work environment that encourages productivity. Employees who are motivated and rewarded for good performance are more likely to work efficiently. Third is using modern technology. New machines and technologies can increase production capacity and reduce wasted time and resources. However, it is also important that employees are properly trained to use these technologies efficiently. When organizations combine skilled employees, supportive environments, and modern technology, they can significantly improve efficiency. Effectiveness and efficiency are both essential for organizational success. Effectiveness focuses on achieving the organization goals and objectives, while efficiency focuses on using resources in the best possible way. Organizations must monitor their performance, analyze trends, and continuously improve their processes. By doing this, they can ensure that they not only reach their goals, but also maximize the use of their resources.
Next is the third E, which is the economy. So kapag naririnig natin ang word na economy, kadalasan ang iniisip natin ay pagtitipid or pagbili ng pinakamurang product. Pero sa organizational context, hindi siya tungkol sa lowest price. Mas tamang sabihin na ang economy ay tungkol sa wise spending or matalinong paggastos. So, ang goal ng economy ay siguraduhin na ang organization ay makakakuha ng pinakamataas or high value sa resource na ginagastos nito. So, hindi lang sapat na mura lang ang binili. Kailangan nating tanungin kung matibay ba to, may warranty ba, reliable ba ang supplier, or gano ito katagal magagamit. Kasi minsan, ang sobrang mura, mas nagiging mahal in the long run. So, example here is pag magpo-purchase ka ng equipment. So, halimbawa, may company na bibili ng laptop para sa employees. May dalawa tayong options. Yung option A, 15K yung laptop, pero madali siyang maghang at masira after a year. Option B naman, 30K ang laptop, pero high quality at for sure na magtatagal siya for 5 years. Kung iisipin mo, mas mura ang option A. Pero kung papalitan mo siya every year, mas talagang mapapamahal ka. So, while sa option B, mahal yung laptop, pero mas matagal mo siya bago palitan at saka mas productive ang mga employees. So, dito natin makikita na ang economy ay hindi lang about price, it's about long run or a long-term value. So, another example here is also the financial resources. So, hindi lang materials at equipment ang sakop ng economy. Kasama din ang financial inputs tulad ng loans and others. So, halimbawa, ang isang business ay umutang ng 1 million para mag-expand. May interest daw to na 10% per year. So, ang question, kikita ba ang expansion ng higit sa 10% na dun sa interest? Pero kung oo ang sagot, good investment siya. Pero kung hindi, lugi ang company. So, ang principle dito ay dapat mas mataas ang returns kaysa sa cost ng investment. So, in summary, here in economy, need ng smart decision making, long-term thinking, and value-based purchasing. Hindi lang basta pagtitipid, kundi strategic spending din. So next is the excellence, which is the fourth in the 8 E's. So kung ang economy ay tungkol sa tamang paggastos, ang excellence naman ay tungkol sa mataas na kalidad ng trabaho at serbisyo. Nowadays kasi maraming products at services ang halos pare-pareho lang. So, kapag puro presyo lang ang labanan, magiging race to the bottom. That means, bababaan ng presyo hanggang sa lumiit yung kita nila. Kaya maraming organizations ang nagfo-focus sa differentiation through quality. So, bakit important ang excellence? Kasi, ang customers ay hindi lang tumitingin sa presyo. Tinitignan nila yung worth it. Kung worth it ba ang babayaran nila. Kapag naramdaman ng customer na overpriced ang binili nila, meaning, mababa ang value kesa sa price. So, magre-reklamo sila, magre-refund, or lilipat sa competitor. So, example here is may dalawang restaurant. Yung restaurant A, mura ang pagkain pero hindi masarap at mabagal ang service. Restaurant B naman, medyo mahal pero masarap, malinis at maganda yung service niya. So, saan ka babalik? Kadalasan sa restaurant B kasi mas mataas ang perceived value. Dito natin makikita na ang excellence ay nagdudulot ng customer satisfaction, repeat customers at higher profit. So, dito rin papasok yung quality measurement. So, important din na ang quality ay sinusukat. So, may kasabihan tayo na people do what is measured, repeat what is rewarded. Kung sinusukat ang quality, mas pagbubutihin ng mga employees. Kaya may mga system tulad ng Quality Management System or QMS at standard at saka yung standards tulad ng ISO na nag-help para maging consistent ang quality. So, another example here is the internal customers. So, hindi lang siya for external customers. May tinatawag din tayong internal customers. So, halimbawa, Kung nasa accounting ka at mali ang report na binigay mo sa manager, maapektuhan ng decision making ng buong company. So, ibig sabihin, ang manager mo ay customer mo din. So, excellence means doing your best work, helping others succeed, continuous improvement.
What is ethics? Ethics refers to rules of behavior based on ideas about what is morally right and wrong. It guides how individuals and organizations make decisions and act responsibly. Ethics is concerned with distinguishing right from wrong, fulfilling moral duties and obligations, and guiding decision making within organizations. In simple terms, ethics helps organizations do the right thing, not just what is profitable or legal. Why is ethics matter to internal auditors? Ethics play a major role in internal auditing because auditors help organizations maintain accountability and integrity. Ethical viewpoints influence decision-making processes, internal controls, governance practices, and overall organization behavior. When ethics are weak, inappropriate or harmful actions are more likely to occur. Because of this, internal auditors are responsible for assessing ethical governance and recommending improvements to strengthen integrity within the organization. Ethics as a field of study. Ethics is a broad field that includes philosophical, practical, and historical perspectives. It examines moral values and principles that guide individuals and groups. Many ethical systems are influenced by religion, culture, and tradition. However, modern organizations face new ethical challenges due to technological advancement, globalization, and rapidly changing expectations. This makes ethical understanding more important than ever. Key ethical questions for organization. Organizations regularly face difficult ethical decisions. Some important questions include: should companies prioritize corporate social responsibility or maximize shareholder profit? Is it acceptable to use aggressive tax avoidance strategies? Should companies use animal testing for product development? Should organizations apply higher safety standards in developing countries? These questions show that legal compliance alone is not enough. Ethical responsibility must also be considered. Compliance and corporate responsibility. Another major ethical issue is how organizations approach responsibility and compliance. Important consideration include: should companies follow rules only when they are likely to be caught? Should contractors and suppliers follow human rights and safe working standards? Should organizations source materials only from fair trade vendors? Ethical organizations go beyond minimum legal requirements and consider the broader impact of their actions. Diversity and worker protection issues. Ethics also plays a role in how organizations treat people. Key concerns include promoting diversity and leadership, protecting workers where legal protections are weak, and balancing legal compliance with moral responsibility. Organizations must ensure fairness, respect, and safety for all stakeholders. In conclusion, ethics is central to effective governance and responsible organizational behavior. Internal auditors must understand ethical principles because they help promote integrity, strengthen governance system, and support responsible decision making. By encouraging ethical practices, auditors contribute to trust, accountability, and long-term organizational success. Teleological approach. The teleological approach focuses on the consequences of actions when determining whether something is morally right or wrong. Under this approach, actions are judged by their outcomes. The best decision is the one that produces the greatest overall good, and organizations often use the cost-benefit analysis to evaluate decisions. In simple terms, an action is considered ethical if it creates more positive results than negative ones. Utilitarianism. One of the most well-known teleological theories is utilitarianism. Utilitarianism teaches that the most ethical choice is the one that produces the greatest overall benefit for the greatest number of people. In business settings, this approach is common because organizations often aim to maximize total benefits, profits, or social value. Under utilitarian thinking, decisions are evaluated by overall outcomes, benefits and harms are compared, and the actions with the greatest net gain is considered ethical. Limitations of cost-benefit analysis. Although cost-benefit analysis support utilitarian decision-making, it has important limitations. First, some values are difficult to measure, such as human life, health, and happiness. Second, different people assign different value to outcomes. Third, future costs and benefits are often uncertain. Finally, it can be difficult to decide what should count as a cost or a benefit. Because of these limitations, relying only on numerical calculations can lead to unethical decisions. The Ford Pinto case. A well-known example of teleological decision-making in business is the Ford Pinto case. Ford Motor Company designed a low-cost, lightweight vehicle. However, the gas tank was placed behind the rear axle, which created a safety risk during rear-end collisions. Engineers discovered that fixing the design would cost approximately $137 million. However, Ford estimated that paying damages from accidents would cost about $49.15 million. Based on cost-benefit analysis, the company chose not to modify the design. This decision resulted in injuries, deaths, and significant reputational damage. The case demonstrates how focusing only on outcomes measured in financial terms can ignore human safety and ethical responsibility. Distributive justice. Another important concept related to ethical decision-making is distributive justice. Distributive justice focuses on fairness in how benefits and burdens are shared among people. It emphasizes equitable treatment, opposition to discrimination, fair wages, and protection of workers. A key principle of distributive justice is that decisions should never harm the least advantaged members of society. Even if we are not required to provide major benefits, we must avoid causing harm to vulnerable groups. In conclusion, the theological approach evaluates morality based on outcomes, and utilitarianism seeks the greatest good for the greatest number. However, cost-benefit analysis has limitations and may overlook important human values, as shown in the Ford Pinto case. Distributive justice reminds us that ethical decision-making must also consider fairness and protect vulnerable members of society. Understanding these concepts help organizations make responsible and balanced ethical decisions.
The next approach is the ontological approach. The ontological approach is from the Greek word of dion means duty and logos means science. So duty-based derived from the Greek dion. This approach emphasizes moral obligations and rules such as do not lie, do not steal, or do not kill. Refer to the duties or obligations of an individual or group. Immanuel Kant is the philosopher of the ontological approach. The ontological ethics is a moral philosophy that emphasizes the importance of duty and adherence to rules asserting that actions are morally right or wrong, based on their intrinsic nature rather than their consequences. The deontological approach is an ethical framework that judges the morality of an action based on its adherence to rules, duties, and obligations, rather than its consequences. Associated with Immanuel Kant, this duty-based system holds that certain actions are inherently right or wrong, regardless of the outcome. Example, in healthcare, respecting a patient's rights to refuse treatment even if the treatment would save their life. So we have a formulation of Kant's categorical imperative states. I ought never to act except in such a way that I can also will that maxim reason for acting in a given way should be universal law. So this law, Immanuel Kant agreed that one should only act according to principles that could be adopted as universal laws for everyone. The person for doing something must be reasoned that everyone would act similarly and be reversible. Intrinsic morality actions are considered morally good or bad based on inherent characteristics. For example, telling the truth is a moral obligation even if lying could lead to better outcomes. Special emphasis on the relationship between duty and the morality of human is similar sa golden rule na do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That actions should be judged on their own merits, not on the outcomes or consequences. Generally speaking, in business decision should incorporate this ethical screen and show respect for human life and basic rights. Next, second formulation of Kant's categorical imperative states is the people should never be treated only as means, but always also as ends. This perspective emphasizes the importance of recognizing and respecting human dignity and potential, which goes beyond mere functionality or services. Individuals should be valued not just for their utility or role in the system, but also for their inherent worth and potential. It encourages a more holistic view of people, acknowledging their capacity for growth, development, and meaningful contributions to society. So next, we have a pluralism versus ethical relativism. Ethical pluralism acknowledge multiple moral values that can coexist, while ethical relativism asserts that moral values are determined by cultural contexts with no universal standards. Ethical pluralism are equally correct and fundamental. Cultural relativism means that there are no international rights or wrong. Being and acting ethically refers to abiding by well-founded standards of right and wrong that prescribes what individuals should do. So next, we have equity. In equity, it relates to the treatment of others with dignity and respect, the quality of being fair and just. So the general principles of equity and fairness: equity of treatment, work environments lacking equity and fairness, experience can motivate problems, whether it is in fact or in appearance. If employees perceive a lack of equity and fairness, they will act as if it were so and reduce their level of involvement with the organization. So, and this is a dangerous situation so management must make sure that they provide their employees with enough information about their recruitment and compensation practices. So this is some of the key actions are clearly states the job requirements, what is required and what is desirable. Required qualifications are the essential skills and experiences that a candidate must possess to be considered for the position. Kadalasan, hinahanap ng mga company ay ang mga may educational degrees, may experience or certifications. Explain the impact of work experience in the selection process. Work experience significantly influences the selection process. Candidate na may work experience ay madalas maging pinaka-qualified at capable to work. Provide clear performance evaluation criteria. It is essential criteria kung ano ang alam niya sa trabaho, paano siya magtrabaho, productivity, at iba pa. require hiring managers to document the process followed during hiring and promotion decisions. Dito naman sa require hiring managers, it helps protect organizations from allegations of discriminatory hiring practices and promotes transparency and accountability within the hiring team. The publicized hiring and promotions actions. Companies should focus on strategies like sample targeted job posting, ensure job postings are attractive and embed the employee value proposition within them. So, when considering the topic of equity, internal auditors should consider, does the organization display the necessary care to develop and maintain productive relationship? Does the organization, through its policies and practices, establish trust through openness? Are there mechanisms in place to make sure that in theory and practice, the concepts of interdependence and collaboration are promoted and rewarded? Does organization recognize the importance to nurture others and show compassion while creating an expectations for hard work and discipline? Does the organization show respect toward its stakeholders and encourage dialogue with them rather than merely trying to exert power over them through opportunistic practices? So these are the questions that auditor might be considered when you have effective relationship with other professionals and team members. You are more likely to enjoy your day-to-day building relationships in the workplace. It is also important for career success. Not only do relationship with the colleagues in the workplace assist with networking, but they can also offer you the guidance and encouragement you need to succeed in your role or your work. That's one thing.
Next slide is about emotions. There are 3 bullets related to emotional attachment. The first bullet, it relates to employees' emotional involvement and connection with their work and colleagues. This defines emotional attachment in the workplace as more than just task-focused engagement. And also, employees don't just perform their duties, but also they care about the work itself and build meaningful relationship with teammates, creating a sense of belonging. Next bullet is about engaged employees invest in themselves in the organization, going beyond minimum requirement to delight customers. Means it links emotional attachment to tangible outcomes. When employees feel connected, they are motivated to do more than the bare minimum requirement of a company or an organization. They take initiative, they solve problems proactively, and also they prioritize creating positive experiences for customers, which drives satisfaction and loyalty. The last bullet is about emotional identification with organization values, mission, vision, and objectives is a key motivator. Means this highlights is a core driver of emotional attachment, which is it aligns between personal belief and also the organization's purpose. When employees see that their work contributes to the goal of an organization or of a company they care about, but but and also they feel a sense of purpose that fuels commitment and effort. Next slide is about the upside benefit of a strong emotional attachment. The first bullet is about creating a stronger sense of community and mutual support among employees. When employees have strong emotional attachment to their workplace and colleagues, they view the team as more than just a group of co-workers. but they see it as a community. Nakikita daw nila as a community yung coworkers nila, hindi lang as an individual. And this foster collaboration, shared responsibility, and a culture where people actively help one another, leading to a more cohesive and supportive work environment. Next bullet is about encourages understanding and support of each other's shortcomings. Means emotional attachment, it builds empathy. And also, employees are more likely to recognize that everyone has strength and also weaknesses. So they respond to mistake or gaps with patience rather than criticism, which can reduce the blame, encourages learnings from errors, and also it helps create a safe space where people feel comfortable being open about challenges. And the last bullet is about promotes the generation of innovative ideas for improvement and drives organizational progress. Means when an employees feel emotionally connected to their organization's success, they are motivated to think creatively about how to enhance processes, products, or services. And also, feel din nila, nararamdaman nila na they are secure enough to share yung mga nalalaman nilang ideas or yung mga new ideas na dapat nilang i-share sa isang company, even it is risky ones, and take ownership of driving positive change, directly contributing to the organization's growth and adaptability. Next slide is about the downside consequences of low emotional attachment. The first bullet is about leads to a lack of pride in work, resulting in carelessness and apathy. Meaning, when an employee have low emotional attachment, they feel connected to value or it can impact sa kanilang trabaho. This absence of pride means they're less likely to pay attention to detail, follow processes truthfully, or invest effort in doing their best, leading na naglilid sa paggagawa ng mistake, rush outputs, and general disinterest in organizational goals. Next bullet is about it can escalate to disruptive behaviors including sabotage. Meaning, yung mga unattached employees, they may feel undervalued, ignored, or resentful toward the organization or their colleagues. Over time, this negative sentiment can manifest in a harmful action. And such intentionally slowing down work, withholding critical information, damaging resources, or undermining team projects, all of which disrupt operation and harm morale. Next bullet is about it increases employees turnover as individuals feel less connected to the organization. Without emotional ties to the workplace, mission, or team, employees see little reason to stay longer time. They don't feel a sense of belonging or commitment, making them more open to leaving when better opportunities arise or even when minor frustration occurs. Next, and the last bullet it is about employees are more likely to seek other employment opportunities. Means this can build on the previous point. Low attachment reduces loyalty or makes employees proactive about looking for alternative routes. They may actively search for workplace where they feel more valued, connected, or aligned with the organization's purpose, which can lead to higher recruitment and training costs for the company. Next bullet is about the three categories of employee engagement. The first bullet is about passionate, enthusiastic, and deeply connected to the organization. It engaged employees feel strong emotional attachment to their work and the company. They are motivated by its mission and values to take initiative, collaborate, and actively with teammates and go beyond basic requirements to drive success. They often act as advocates for the organization and contribute positively to workplace culture. The next bullet is about not engage, check out, or sleep walking, putting in time but lacking energy or passion. Means these employees fulfill their core jobs duties, but they have little emotional connection to the organization. They do the minimum required, show low enthusiasm, and rarely contribute ideas or take ownership of outcome. While they don't actively harm operation, but they don't add extra value or help drive progress. Next is actively disengage. It is negative influence, undermining engaged colleagues, and sabotage company initiative. With this bullet is about this group has a low to no emotional attachment and holds negative feelings towards the organization. They may openly complain, discourage, or criticize engaged peers and intentional hinder projects or processes, either through inaction or deliberate disruption. Their behavior can damage team moral, productivity, and organizational results. Next is the internal auditor's rule. The first one, internal auditor should examine emotional elements. Why? Bakit kailangan ba examine emotional elements? Because audit focus on financial, operational, and compliance metrics. But this point, it emphasizes that auditors must also assess intangible emotional factors in the workplace, like employee engagement, like emotional attachment, and like team morale. These elements are critical to understanding overall organizational health, but not just critical processes or numbers. The next bullet is about when present, this enhances operational effectiveness. If positive emotional elements or a strong engagement, mutual support, alignment with organizational values are present, the auditors will find that operations run more smoothly. It engaged employees drive better collaboration, fewer errors, more innovation, and higher productivity, directly boosting how effectively the organization achieves its goals. And the last bullet is when absent, this detracts operational effectiveness. If emotional elements are lacking or negative, auditors will see tangible impacts in an operation. These can include carelessness, high turnover, disruptive behavior, or slow progress on initiative. All of were reduced efficiency, it increased costs, and it can hinder performance. Next is the applications for internal auditors. There are three bullets related to the strategic role of internal auditor. The first bullet is don't just think of framework as theoretical concept, but as tools to add value. Bakit sinabi yan? Meaning, auditing framework, which is those are covering operational effectiveness, risk management, or even emotional engagement factors are not just an academic guidelines, but also they are practical resources. Auditors should use them to identify actionable insights to solve real organizational problem and deliver recommendations that improve performance rather than just checking boxes for compliance. Next bullet is about integrate these frameworks into auditors' work programs for comprehensive reviews. Meaning, frameworks should be woven into the core planning and execution of audits, not treated as separate add-ons. By embedding them into work program, auditors should ensure reviews are holistic, which can cover all relevant dimensions like financial, operational, and emotional elements to provide a full picture of organization's health rather than focusing on isolated areas. Last one is focus on how well programs, processes, or activities perform in terms of frameworks dimension. Instead of verifying whether processes follow rules, auditors should assess how effectively they operate against the framework's criteria. This means evaluating outcomes rather than just adherence to procedures, ensuring audits drive meaningful improvements. Next is identifying opportunities for improvement. First bullet is ask. Ask, are there opportunities for improvement along any of those dimensions? Bakit kailangan itanong ito? This encourages proactive evaluations across all areas covered by auditing frameworks. By systematically checking each dimension, auditors can spot gaps, inefficiencies, or areas where performance could be enhanced rather than waiting for problems to arise.
Next is identifying opportunities for improvement. First one is us are the opportunities for improvement along any of those dimensions. This encourages proactive evaluation across all areas covered by auditing frameworks, and those are operational processes, employee engagement, and compliance. By systematically checking each dimension, auditor can spot gaps, inefficiencies, or areas where performance could be enhanced rather than waiting for problems to arise. Next is identifying savings. A key goal of improvement is reducing unnecessary costs. This could involve finding ways to streamline workflows, eliminate waste, optimize resource allocations, or cut expenses related to rework or turnover or inefficient practices, directly boosting the organization's financial health. Next is identify recommendations made to accelerate a business process. Beyond cost cutting, auditors should focus on speeding up and simplifying critical processes. Recommendations might include automating tasks, improving communication between teams, or aligning steps with strategic goals, and helping the organization operate more quickly and adopt the market needs faster. Next is demonstrating strategic mindset. Quantify quantifying our environmental benefit is a strategic auditors measures tangible outcome of environmental initiative, and those are the tons of reduced energy save carbon emissions cut rather than just describing them in a qualitative terms. Quantification makes this benefit concrete and easier to communicate to stakeholders. Next is link environmental benefits to increase revenue, and this can connect sustainability efforts to business growth of one organization or one company. For example, an eco-friendly practices might attract environmentally conscious customers and also qualify the organization for green certification that open new markets or can reduce costs that free up funds for innovation and showing how sustainability drives profitability. And last one is link environmental benefits to lower waste and better public relations. It is highly recommended that dual advantages can reducing waste costs, operational costs, while strong environmental practices enhance brand reputation of an organization or a company. This can improve customer loyalty, attract top talent who value sustainability, and build positive relationships with regulators and the community. Thank you for listening.